Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Our first story will tell us how hard it is to build a hotel for the first time. This calls twice construction. Everything's so nice because we do it twice. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Sit comfortably. Here we go. Learned a real quick lesson about malicious compliance while doing high-end construction. Years ago, I was doing construction for a casino in the restaurant portion while another company was working on the hotel. The general contractor was notorious for being a jerk and insisted no extra work was to be done without prior written authorization and approval by the owners and architect. Basically, follow the plans exactly. This happens time to time, and usually they find little mistakes and submit an update and approve the added expense. Not this time. 10 floors were built exactly per plan. The top 2 were luxury suites, marble floor to ceiling in the bathrooms, real expensive stuff. Toward the end of the job, they're walking off the suites, probably 95% of everything is done. Where's the light switch in the bathroom? Head electrician just smiles. None in the plans, sir. We followed the plans to the letter, just like you said. No lights, no switches. We could hear screaming several floors down. They ended up having to rip out marble in every bathroom to run pipe for wire and all the lights and switches, but didn't lift a finger until they were guaranteed in writing they would be paid for the extra work. Give the customer exactly what they ask for. May you be forgiven. And our next story. We're replaceable, and you're happy to help us leave? Okay. I used to work for a small fee-for-service nonprofit. The average number of clients served is around 250. The average caseload is 12, but can range from 10 to 20 per person and may exceed 20 depending on circumstance. Non-management staff hover around 18 to 20 people. New staff aren't really able to effectively use client-authorized hours until several months in, so the organization is reliant on senior staff to keep projected income up. This is relevant later. Keeping it as understandable as possible, one of the perks of being a senior staff member was receiving a personalized, facilitated plan for your goals. Once the plans were done individually, everyone who received one from all regions of the organization came together as a group to discuss. This was meant to be an opportunity to share, support each other, and figure out next steps. Since our plans were mostly done around our goals at the company, we had an honest conversation about what we need to be successful. It wasn't inappropriate in any way, as many of the needs we brought up were already being met. It was honestly just a facilitated discussion around how to keep focused on advancing our career there. While one person from another region with more weight didn't like how the day went, so they complained to their manager, who's also a personal friend. That manager worked herself up about it, created a new story, and went straight to the assistant director. The assistant director is a very reactionary person and isn't very well liked. Most just avoid or placate her. Everyone in my region at the group meeting gets an email from AD saying we need to cancel all appointments and be in her office at a specified time the next day. Remember, we're senior staff. That means 5 of us canceled our client-based appointments to go to this mystery meeting, losing the company money. Meeting comes, we're sat down in front of all the managers in our region and the AD. She launches into us with the following highlights. How dare you use group time to provide feedback about the organization? She's so ashamed and doesn't trust us to represent the company, informs us that we wasted $7,000 of the company's money and that her toddlers behave better than us. She ends this 5-minute rant by saying that every one of us is replaceable and they'd be happy if we left. We 5 sit in stunned silence before the meeting is concluded and we all walk out. Turns out the AD never spoke to the facilitator, didn't consult any other attendees from other regions, in fact, didn't bother getting any additional information at all. To add insult to injury, my boss, one of the managers in the room, told me the point of that meeting was to make us feel crappy when I asked what follow-up was needed from me. I found a job within 2 weeks and left. 2 other people in that meeting quit within a month. A 4th is halfway out the door. Others found out about the meeting, and so far 4 additional staff have left. All 7 of us who quit so far had been there 3 years or more, and our departures were no more than 2 months apart. Our total caseloads numbered roughly 120 clients, meaning that almost half of the organization's clients are without staff to support them, and there are now 5 new hires without mentors. One of the new hires quit because of this, making 8 people gone in 2 months. This turnover has never happened before. I left behind 3 years of stellar client relationships and high performance/outcomes and took with me the knowledge on everything from mandatory trainings to the billing protocol. Yep, that's right. I developed the billing protocol for the new database, and no one had stepped up to learn it prior. Sucks to be you, I guess. Moral of the story, if you tell staff they're replaceable, their answer will be, so are you. This is what happens when management starts believing that they are the company, not the people who actually do the work. And our next story. Refuse to be served by a woman bartender and ask for a manager? Allow me to introduce you to her. A bit of backstory. I worked at a pub on and off for about 3 years, not full-time, but rather on a 0-hours contract. Basically, I picked up shifts whenever I was back from uni, paid per shift, and they had decent turnover of back-of-house staff, so as someone who knew pretty much everything in there, I would generally be the person to fix issues whenever a newer member of staff had a problem. So I'm on a barbecue shift, which means I'm running food outside. There's also a bar out there, which was taken care of by a female coworker, FC, and every now and then a manager would check up and make sure everything was all right. We had 3 managers on at a time, and they generally helped out whenever it was needed. Nobody was afraid to get their hands dirty. It was a quiet night, so we were basically chilling out there serving an occasional burger or drink. Well, I go in to help out on glasses since, as always, it was backed up, and when I came back out again, this guy was basically standing angrily by the bar. FC is visibly upset, not crying or anything, but clearly not having a good time, and as I walk up, this guy sees my apron and puts his hands on his hips. "Finally, get me your manager! I want this girl gone," he says, or words to that extent. Now, I'm understandably doubtful that she's done anything that bad, especially since she's relatively new, so before doing anything, I bring FC round the back and ask her. Turns out she'd messed up this guy's pint, and he'd gone off about how women can't pour beer and that she shouldn't even be there, it was a man's job, etc. I told her I'd sort it out, leave him with me, and you continue to watch the bar in the meanwhile. Now, I wasn't going to let this go unpunished, so here's where the compliance comes in. Remember, there are 3 managers on at the time. 2 are on the floor currently, both men, and both perfectly capable of sorting this out, but the third was female. We'll call her Kate. Now, Kate was the most senior manager on, hence why she was in the office sorting out admin and emails, etc., and she took absolutely no crap whatsoever. For reference, when she finally left the pub, it was to go work as a prison officer. She was a damn good manager for getting things done, but definitely not afraid to stamp her authority if need be. In short, not someone you want to be on the wrong end of. You can guess which manager I went to. She was at first annoyed I was trying to drag her all the way outside, but when I explained fully, she just stopped typing, stood up, and told me to lead the way, which I did, smiling all the way because I knew exactly what was coming next. I let her down, and as the guy sees us approaching, his face just falls off a cliff. I've never seen anyone go from angry to, oh crap, that quickly ever since. It was just glorious. Kate is, of course, very polite, but makes a point of introducing herself as head manager of the pub. Not strictly true, but it got the job done. He stutters about having his pint messed up, and she tells him he can have another one on the house. Then she proceeds to go behind the bar and pour it herself before handing it to him. I can feel how badly he wants to complain about it from across the bar, but eventually he takes his drink and walks off without another word. Kate just gives me a look and a little smile before walking back to the office. Yes, it probably would have been more efficient to do literally anything else to resolve this whole thing. In fact, I probably could have just comped a drink myself and he would have peed off. But, oh, the result was worth it. You should have gotten a male manager to come out and pour the worst effing all-foam pint for him on the house. And our last story. You want me to work for you after you lay me off? Back in about 2008, my dad was working for a network company. They provided the backbone for the internet/network for a lot of companies across the U.S. Well, one morning, he was working, and his boss's boss called him into his office. Not a good sign for sure. Well, he gives the standard sorry, but we're downsizing speech. He wasn't happy for sure, but things happen. So he signed the paperwork saying that he no longer works there and he's not allowed to do any sort of work for them. Important later. So he and his now old boss go out to lunch as a goodbye. Boss even told him, half joking, that if he'd known this was coming, he could have taken one of the brand new servers they dropped off at his desk a couple days before. They both laughed, they said goodbye, and went on their way. Well, I should tell you what my dad did there. He managed all their core routers across the U.S., so every bit of data across the network went through them. And he was the only one. So for his entire employment there, he'd always get paged with issues at 3 a.m. So he gets home and starts to relax. Well, about an hour later, he gets a call from his boss's boss. The convo went something like this. Big boss: "Hey, D." Dad: "Hey, BB, what do you need?" Was a bit shorter than he normally would be, but hey, he just got canned. "Well, we have a problem up here." "Oh yeah, what is it?" "Well, you see, no one here has the root master password for the routers. We need you to give it to us." "Oh yeah? Well, according to the paperwork I just signed, I'm not allowed to do any work for you, and that would be work. So tell you what, hire me as a one-time consultant for $10,000, and I'll be more than happy to give it to you." Yeah. Let me get back to you on that." Never heard from them again. For them to get the password, they would have to send out a tech to each router to hook up to it, then reset the password. Can't do it remotely. He got a new job at MCI soon after, for about 5 years until he retired for good. He still laughs at them today. Edit: I'm pretty sure that sooner or later my dad would have given them the password, but I think he wanted to make them worry and regret what they did a bit beforehand. As someone pointed out, I think the years are off by some, so it might have been closer to 2000 than 2008. Yes, he probably should have kept better notes, and he might have, he never told me, but knowing these guys, they deleted his PC/network drive 2 seconds after he walked out the door. Depending on how much equipment they had, might have been cheaper to pay the $10K than to send text to all those locations. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.